Alright guys, we got some good news to talk about here today. Good news, that's some shit that's in short supply recently. But anyway, this came out a few weeks ago, but I hadn't had a chance to talk about it, and it actually worked out because we actually finally got a trailer for it yesterday at the time of this recording, which gave us some new info. So THQ Nordic has finally announced that we are going to get a Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning Remaster. And it's going to be titled Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, which is kind of a goofy name, but, you know, who cares. So this is coming out for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. It's being developed by a company called Kaiko, which is based out of Germany, I believe. It's the same company that did the remasters for the first two Darksiders games, among other things. So they've got some experience, you know, doing remasters and things before. It is going to include all the DLC from the original game. Now, they mentioned the two big DLC packs, the Legend of Dead Kel and Teeth of Naros packs. And they said, and I think they just said, and more. So the only other regular DLC for it, there was the House of Valor stuff was originally DLC, but that was kind of chopped content because EA. Besides that, I think the only other DLC they had for it was some weapon packs. I'm assuming those will be in too. The only thing that may or may not be in is there was some crossover items you could get from playing the demo that were inspired by Mass Effect 3, since the original released around the same time as that game. I don't know if they'll be able to include those or not. I could see there being some sort of licensing issue or something there, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But beyond that, it sounds like everything's going to be in it. Those might end up being in it too. I'm just speculating here. But EA is not involved with it at all this time. They were the publishers for the game originally back in 2012, I believe. So EA not being involved is always a good thing. I don't know if they still had distribution rights and THQ Nordic had to work out some kind of deal with them, or if there was any sort of legal issue there or anything, but regardless of if there was or wasn't, it's clearly worked out now since we're getting the game. So I'm excited for this. I think this is really cool. This is coming little over a year and a half, I believe, after THQ Nordic obtained the IP for Kingdoms of Amalur, which I made a video talking about that back at the time, and I said that I hoped eventually this would lead to a remaster of the first game, and then maybe a single-player sequel down the road. Which we're getting the first part of that now. Hopefully, we'll get the second part later. I know they were working on an MMO before 38 Studios went belly up. I have no interest in an MMO. If they make any more Amalur games, I want them to just be more single-player action RPG experiences like we have with the first game. When speaking of which, we've already got a little bit of a hint towards that because they said that the release date for this game is September 8th of this year. But they said that coming next year in 2021, they're also going to be releasing a brand new DLC expansion for this game called Fatesworn. So that's really cool that we're getting actual new content for a game that's, 8 years old? You don't see that happening very often. Off the top of my head, the only other time I can think of a game that old getting any sort of new content that's not like an MMO or something is recently when they release a extra DLC set for Borderlands 2 right before Borderlands 3 came out. I think they did something like that. But anyway, that was unexpected. I didn't think that they would be adding any new content to it, or any significant new content really. But we're getting an entirely new expansion. Don't really have any details right now on what's going to be in that expansion. If it's similar to the Legend of Dead Kel and Teeth of Naros expansions, then it'll be an entirely new area with new enemies, new quests, new armor and weapons, and all that. So hopefully it'll be in line with those as far as amount of content is concerned. I'm looking forward to getting more info about that. But overall, that's really cool. I'm actually really excited for this now. I know it's just a remaster, and we get way too many remasters as it is. Some of which for games that really have no need to be remastered. But in this case, I think it's actually a good choice because the first game was really solid, or the original release rather was really solid, but it had a lot of audio visual issues and technical glitches and things like that. So it ends up being actually a good choice for a remaster because it gives you an opportunity to sort of spit shine it and clean up things on a technical end. Which, it had a lot of things like pop in, really bad pop in, some frame rate drops every now and then, especially when a lot of enemies are on screen. Sometimes the sound effects and things didn't play until like a second or two later than they were supposed to. Like you jump in the water, and then like a second after you're in the water, you hear the splash sound effect, things like that. And every now and then you'd had a quest that sort of went haywire and wouldn't work right. So, hopefully all of those things sort of get cleaned up in this, and it ends up being a lot more polished than the original was. Also, they are doing a collector's edition for this game, which is pretty nice. It comes with a big scale figure of Alan Shear, among other things. Which I wasn't going to get it at first because it was $110, I believe, which I thought was a little steep for it. But I actually ended up getting a deal for it and didn't have to pay full price. So that worked out pretty well for me. But yeah, overall, I'm happy to hear this announcement. I think it's a good thing. Hopefully it'll lead to another game down the road if this ends up selling well. So I'm glad this series is finally getting another chance to come back to life after the absolute disaster that the original studio was. But yeah, anyway, I guess that's all I got to say. So, lots of luck to you and yours.